recording started. Oh, somebody did. Thank you. Okay. I'm Dylan DiBiase from Carbon Solutions Group. Also, Brett Gopal and Kelsey Klein will be presenting today. Thanks everybody for hopping on. We're going to go through keep passing the mic through a couple different topics, run through them, and then we'll kind of pause at the end of each section to address questions. We'll have more questions at the end if anybody has anything. But yeah, just get started. So just quickly covering what we're going to talk through. Brett's going to go through the upcoming block transition, just as we transition from the 2022-2023 energy year into the 2023-2024 energy year. There's a number of provisions that are new, that are taking effect, that were passed in when the new law passed, that are taking effect June 1st during the transition. There's a couple of meter reading outreach, minimum equity standards is one of the big changes that I'm going to go through in some detail. A couple portal integrations and updates. Like I said, and then we'll go through questions with everybody. And also, if you have any questions throughout this, feel free to just put them in the chat, and we'll kind of address them at the end, or if it pops up and it's relevant, we can talk through it at the time. So. Okay, with that, I think, Brett, you're up first. If you want to take over. And just let me know if you need the next slide. I don't know if you can see the slideshow controls on your end or not.
Huh. I will, yeah, I'll let you know. But yeah, for the upcoming block transition, we wanted to cover a couple of different topics. One, the general structure. Two, the disclosure form refresh. Three, the rec pricing update, our rec calculator, and then the capacity allocation for the new energy year. So the general structure to expect moving forward is the energy year will refresh every June 1st and run through May 31st of the next year. Rec pricing has been preliminarily released. That's subject to final approval. The IPA is expecting final rec prices to be approved mid-April, so we should see final rec pricing either this week or early next week. We will be distributing our rec calculator as we have in the past. And we will be publishing our rec calculator within the CSG portal as well. So you'll be able to have the same functionality that you've had in the past, but just within our portal. And then there's the capacity allocation. This has been published and is in the guidebook, the draft guidebook. You'll see it here on this slide at the bottom. This is subject to slightly change with any reallocated capacity that is left over from this energy year. That'll be redistributed based on methodology that the IPA is published within the new guidebook. Next slide.
Well, yeah, and I'll just say one thing where there's a lot of excess capacity right now is public schools, and that will not be reallocated, at least this program year. So that's going to roll over into public schools. So it's primarily the small and large DG categories that will be reallocated. Sorry, I just want to go there.
Yeah, great clarification. The refresh disclosure form, and this is a good update on disclosure forms in general. One, this new form will be shorter, significantly shorter, more concise, and hopefully more clear to customers about what their purchase entails and how the Illinois Shines program relates to their purchase. So transparency about fees, rebates, net metering, DG rebate, etc. Second, with the release of the new disclosure form format, the Program Administrator Energy Solutions has indicated that the API that will allow disclosure forms to be created within Carbon Solutions Portal should become available after that release. We don't have a clear timeline for when that API will be released or when we'll implement it, but it'll be our top priority once we have a timeline for release. That will, one, make things more seamless between creating a disclosure form, because you'll come to CSG's portal, create the disclosure form, and a lot of that information will automatically transfer to the application that where we accept information now, as well as edits. With API functionality, we'll be able to basically clone information that's submitted into our portal, and then create a new form from the information that that's already stored within the portal. So we're optimistic that with the new form, Customers will have a better experience and better understand information, as well as we'll be able to see that API release and then essentially editing functionality provided by that API. Next slide. Kind of switching gears, May 31st is the end of this energy year and marks the first 3-year true up for many of our current projects. And we'll be reaching out to all of our partners and customers that are impacted by lack of delivery of meter readings or offline systems in the coming weeks to ensure that we get either manual meter readings or resolve issues with systems. The kind of outcome we'll see with the 3-year true up is, one, rush will be delivered and customers won't owe any money back. That's the ideal scenario. Secondarily, we'll see collateral drawdowns. The amount of drawdown will depend on how many RECs the customer is short. If they've had a failure to deliver meter readings for a significant period of time, that may be a significant drawdown. For systems that where 3G is an impact, the 3G outage is an impact on their REC delivery, we would ask that you inform us so that we can communicate with the IPA and the program administrator about how to proceed with those projects. There may be leniency. And then in general, we're just seeking to either get manual meter readings, resolve the 3G issues, or otherwise get access to customers' online monitoring for whatever reason we might not have it in the case of a home sale or something like that. Finally, we are working on technology implementation to kind of decrease the amount of time between when we notice a system is offline or not reporting production, or is reporting production significantly lower than we would expect. We are working on API implementations with Enphase, Solar Edge, and working on other reporting with Sunny Portal and as well as SolarWeb. So we're working on kind of building out automated reports for our partners as well as customers, and trying to figure out the best cadence for when we should flag things, when we should communicate, how much communication is effective and how much is too much. So bear with us as we seek to implement these kind of new technologies and new processes to help ensure customers and our partners are aware of how systems are performing. Next slide.
Cool. All right. And then I'll take over here. Thanks, Rhett. So along with the transition into the new energy year and switching into new blocks and new REC pricing, one of the biggest new requirements of the program is the minimum equity standards. So I'm going to walk through kind of like from beginning to end with as much detail as I have right now. This is a brand new standard. We're still waiting on a couple things to come out, and I'll highlight those. But this is something that impacts every single company active in the adjustable block program. So I really want to make sure everybody's aware of this and kind of has a plan for how to comply with it. So what is it? It's an important initiative that was part of the Clean Energy Jobs Act, and the goal here is to help historically underserved communities have participation in the program both through jobs and through business ownership. There's two primary ways this happens. One is through minimum requirements for all companies to have equity eligible persons working in the job force. The other is through equity eligible contractors. I'm not going to cover anything here about equity eligible contractors. Essentially, Carbon Solutions Group as an approved vendor is not an equity eligible contractor, so we're not kind of eligible for that category of RECs. That would have to be kind of through as your own approved vendor to qualify there. This is a new requirement, like I said, starting June 1st. The first thing that impacts everyone is all designees and approved vendors need to have a compliance plan submitted by June 1st. And this is a compliance plan for how you're going to have 10% of your workforce be equity eligible persons. And this starts at 10% and it ramps up to 30% by 2030. So like next year, it's going to be 12.5%, and it just kind of continues on that 2.5% growth per year until 2030. Who this applies to? So it's all AVP approved vendors, AVP designees, and sub-designees. And we've had a lot of questions around like what role at the company it applies to who. So it's basically all employees, contractors, subcontractors, and it's jobs that are directly or substantially related to development, construction, operation of projects that are planning on participating in the Adjustable Block Program. This includes sales, marketing, admin, technical roles. And the other kind of important caveat here is that these are duties performed in the state of Illinois. So it's essentially taking a snapshot of your entire workload that happens within the state. Okay, so most important question here is, so 10% of everyone's workforce has to be equity eligible persons. What qualifies as an equity eligible person? So there's 4 different pathways to having being an equity eligible person. Number 1 is being a graduate from one of the job training programs. They're listed out here. I think these are great ways. I know there's sort of different availability throughout the state about which one of these job training programs are available, kind of if they're the right type of workers for you. I think it's great for some companies and more challenging for others. There's also persons who are graduates are currently enrolled in foster systems, formerly incarcerated persons. Both of those two are kind of important targets of the law. I think they're more challenging to screen for and hire for directly. That's kind of leave it up to you. We're not an expert on kind of the HR and privacy requirements around asking those questions. Kind of leave it up to your HR department on how to best screen for and handle that. This is something that if you hire, I'll get into the equity eligible person database that the Illinois Power Agency put together, and they do some screening on both those criteria based on what information potential hirees submitted. One thing I know too, returning citizens, the Illinois Solar Energy Association is likely to hold a webinar sometime in the next month or two, trying to show the importance of and kind of help companies understand better how to hire returning citizens. And kind of the final way, and this is the way I think going to go into this final way in a little more detail, just I think it's the largest volume of people. It's persons whose primary residence is in an equity eligible investment community. So this is the map of equity eligible investment community. I put a link down at the bottom, and this I will share these slides. All these links will work. Again, you can kind of see based on where your company and workforce is located. There are some areas like Chicago where it's much easier to find people that live in those jurisdictions than others. So this is the 4th way. My understanding from the IPA is that these areas should represent approximately 25% of the population of the state. It's pulling from the bottom quartile of median income in these areas. So this is another way, and this applies to new hires and your existing workforce if you're able to establish that their primary residence is in an equity eligible investment community. Okay, so now like what needs to be done and what do you guys all need to work on? So every designee, approved vendor, everybody needs to create their compliance plan and have it submitted by June 1st. We don't have a sample compliance plan form or the sample questions yet. We expect it to be released soon. I think you should see it come through from the IPA and from the ABP admin. It must be submitted by everybody, even if you don't expect that you can comply. You still need to have a plan on how you might need to comply or how you might attempt to comply, get as close as you can. And I put this link here, the Equity Accountability Systems page. I've got a bunch of links at the end as well. I would highly recommend checking it out. It shows a bunch of different ways on how you can comply. Again, the requirements is at least 10% of the project workforce, and no matter what, you need to submit a waiver. And the IPA has said that they will grant waivers in rare circumstances where you put in good efforts and you were not able to comply. So I also put I put a screenshot of both of the waivers here. There's two separate waivers. One is for union, one is for non-union. And one of the reasons I thought that I put this up here is it's a helpful sort of list of ways to find equity eligible persons. So it's, look through, because essentially if you're concerned that your company might not be able to meet these criteria, you will have to submit a waiver, and you need to have 20 points on the waiver to qualify. So it's kind of everything from posting job sites, posting jobs on the equity eligible database, how many other similarly situated companies were able to comply or not, collaboration with different groups. So I would just kind of read through this list and take a look at both of these waivers for kind of an idea of places you should be looking to hire these folks, and kind of what the IPA is expecting. And then again, here's a list of links at the end. So we'll circulate, we'll post these slides and this recording in our news function, so you can check these all out. I highly recommend going to the IPA's equity portal. You can register your company there, and I can show you this real quick. So you can go to this page. There's employers and job seekers. Register your company here. Post any job postings you have. And the nice thing about this is that job seekers that are listed on this website have already been vetted by the IPA. So you don't need to go through that second vetting process internally to determine if they're equity eligible persons. Also, just some links to IPA sites. The IPA also did a webinar that's about an hour long and a lot of detail on this compliance plan. So I linked to their webinar slides, and they also have their recording available. And also linked to this map that I showed earlier. Okay, so shifting gears again back to our portal. Another thing that we've been working on recently that we're going to be rolling out in the coming weeks is some API integrations with solar modeling software. The intent here is to make it much easier for you guys to enter your project information, system information to us. So right now we have integrations with Aurora and Solo. We're working on some other modeling software, and if you fill out that form, if there's another software that you use you'd like us to consider, add it. We kind of add it to our development list. We're rolling it out in beta testing right now, so it's going to be just small volumes, but basically what it is you find the system. If you have a bunch of systems in Aurora, you find the system in Aurora that you want to create in our portal. It pulls over everything that exists in Aurora into ours, so you have our portal application started without a lot of copy and pasting or duplicate entry of information. This will be hopefully especially helpful once we have the disclosure form API available. So instead of entering the same information 3 times, you can ideally enter it once and have it port over to a couple different places. So Tim, I'll get to questions at the end about MEC, but a lot of the questions about minimum equity, I would refer people to the IPA directly, just because this is brand new and we don't have a lot of ideas on how it's going to be interpreted. So I would say there's the framework of guidelines. We have a lot of information, but we're still kind of nuanced questions. We don't have all those answers yet, or at least on what I'm aware of. Okay. Kelsey, I think I'm going to hand it off to you for portal updates.
Thank you. You want to go to the next slide there? So we did roll out a couple new features to improve the experience on our portal. One of the first ones that we did recently is the notification settings. I'll do a brief demo just to show everyone where this exists in the portal, but what this one is updating the frequency to when you would get a email summary. It was by default not turned on at all, so you wouldn't receive summaries unless you actively went in and chose one of the options. But we have changed that for everyone who did not have an option selected to go out for a weekly notification. Those do get sent from the no-reply@carbonsolutionsgroup.com email. They get sent out every Monday for weekly. Again, I'll do a quick demo here in a minute just to show you where that is in case you want to increase the frequency or turn them off. Next slide. The second feature that we've rolled out is the updated interface for the messaging and tasking. So what is new is that button down at the bottom that says Message CSG. The tasks are only internal. So Carbon Solutions Group can send a task to an installer, but we can't receive a task from an installer. And I think that was a point of confusion for everyone. So we did add that message one. So if you do need to contact us on an application, you can leave us a message. When you click that button, which I'll show in the demo, it'll just take you to that messaging interface so that you can send us a message. And then the third section that was updated is the online monitoring. I'll go ahead and jump into the demo for this, but we did add a couple new fields here in order to better capture all the different nuances that happen with online monitoring portals.
And I'll stop sharing so you can take over, Kelsey.
Thanks. Okay. Okay, so I'll just follow the order that I just went through those slides. The first is going to be the frequency of the portal notifications, and how you can manage those are down in your profile. So this is on an individual level. So everyone in your organization can choose a different frequency. You'll choose the button down here to get to your account profile. And then it's the settings right here for email summary. Like I said, we have defaulted everyone who did not have a selection into weekly. But if you prefer to get them daily, then you can change to that. Or if they don't mean anything for you, if someone else is handling them and you don't want them to show up in your email, then you will choose none. The summaries do include anything that is left unread. So if you are ever in here and you see your notifications and tasks, but you don't have time to get to them, they will continue to go out in the summary until you have either completed the task or marked off the notification as read. And then the second feature is, I want to make sure that my screen changes. Yes, okay. Is going to be this button down here. So for tasking, again, you can create an internal task. So if you want to send someone else in your organization something to do, then you can create a task for yourself, take it here, and you'll be able to select anyone within your organization. Or the alternative, if you are trying to reach out to us on an application, is going to be do the message CSG, and that will take you to the messages. You can also switch between the tabs here. But if you leave a message in here, that does come to our analysts and they will respond through the same feature as well. We have a little reply button once you're in there. And then the last one that we're going to cover is the online monitoring. So that would be on section 2.5. I believe it's 2.6 if you have an older application that used to be in our old portal. If we go into edit mode here, the first question here is the same, the type of access. Most common there is going to be the granted access. And then we'd have added, it's a little bit of an older feature, but still newer, is this, is the system currently online? So if the system is down for any reason, you are able to select no here just to let us know that it is not currently reporting. And then this information is still all the same, where you would fill out the monitoring platform, the system name, and the ID, and then the username that you're granting access to. And then new features down here is if it will be a self-reporting system. So if they are offline for any reason and we're not able to get the online monitoring through the platform, then you can choose them to be a self-reporter. And if you do that, you'll fill out their name, email, and phone number. And then we'll get a self-reporting form that we fill out. The last feature is going to be the online monitoring notes down here. This can be useful if there's multiple inverters, if you have a secondary online monitoring platform to add in and you want to also share whatever that system name and system ID is, or if you want to let us know that it's offline due to like the 3G shutdown or an expected date for it to be back online. Anything like that, it is an open-ended field. So anything that would be helpful for when we are trying to gather generation or determine an online date. All right, and that is all I have for what is current in the portal. We are rolling out some new features, and we'll continue to send out either a webinar or an announcement when new features are rolled out. We are planning on instituting a customer-facing portal for customers to log into to see the status of their application, track their payments, and that sort of information. Those are all still in development phases, so we don't have a timeline, but as soon as those are going to be available, we will send out blasts letting everyone know, likely host another webinar to cover how you can show those features or extend that to the customer.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Kelsey. And then I'm going to take back over just to walk through some questions. So question for Tim. For unions that prohibit calling out workers based on residency, did the IPA issue any alternative exception? So one, I would recommend reaching out to the IPA directly to get that, or the program administrator directly to get that. But I do think it's still based on where that person lives. So I don't know if, like, I guess I don't know what's in the collective bargaining agreement, if like the employer just can't ask at all where they live. But I think even though you can't like necessarily like prohibit somebody based on where they live from joining that union, it's still based on where they actually live. Yeah, and then let me share this. Another good question. There should be a specific form. So I sent this link. So the IPA has a couple different pages. This is on the Adjustable Block Program website. So you can see they have the minimum equity standard waiver request form linked. They don't have the FAQ, compliance form, sample questions, compliance form, or the guide available yet. So yes, my understanding is that there will be a all this available in kind of a set form that everyone submits their compliance plan. My understanding is that it will be submitted to the program administrator, and I think the program administrator will go through and review those along with the IPA. Another question, so I can show you this map a little more. So this is in, so if you go to like the IPA minimum equity standard page, or if you go to, this is the equity eligible person portal. So there's employers, job seekers, and then if you go to resources, they have this equity eligible map. And I just showed you kind of like a far off screenshot. It takes kind of a while to load, but a map will load here, and you can type in a specific zip code or address or whatever, and it will show you basically if it's green, it's eligible. If it's not, if it's gray, then it's not. Like I said, it's still loading, but once it loads, I can show you specifically. So yeah, you can zoom in as much as you want here, and type in any specific address. Next, will you make a requirement for net metering approval letters in the document in section 2.5? Net metering approval letters are an optional upload, so you're welcome to upload those. What is required is if there is not net metering available in that utility territory, then we do need a net metering exemption waiver that's linked there. Question about formerly incarcerated status. What's the time frame? I don't know. I was trying to find more detail. I would recommend reaching out to the IPA directly. They reference, so I know like in this portal. So if somebody applies to this portal, the IPA will vet them to see if they qualify or not. There's some FAQ resources here, but it doesn't answer that question as far as I know. Yeah, I would recommend reaching out to the IPA directly. And I think a lot of these guidelines are still being developed.
I believe the incarcerated status needs to be a misdemeanor or felony where they're convicted and time was served. I don't think there's any time frame, but it does need to be a misdemeanor or felony with time served.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Red. If no employees live in Illinois, that's also a good question. I would ask the IPA on how to handle that. I could see that it being interpreted one of two ways. Essentially, they're looking at if you're doing work in Illinois and you have no, basically you can't comply. Like they would encourage you to try to hire people that live in Illinois for at least 10% of the hours. But yeah, again, I would reach out to the IPA to get clarification there. My understanding is that you would essentially have to still go through all of the waiver requirements and do your best to hire people based in Illinois, and essentially just make the argument that you try to hire people based in Illinois, but you have a non-Illinois based workforce, so no one would qualify. And this is going to be this is not Carbon Solutions Group is not the arbiter of this. It's all going to be program administrator and the IPA for what kind of how to meet the minimum equity requirements. We're just doing our best to help everybody out on understanding more how to comply and steps to follow there. Cool. Okay, so I can kind of see questions that are rolling in have stopped. If anybody has a question that they haven't typed in the chat or they're on the phone, you can take yourself off mute and ask that, and I'll wait like another minute or two. But if there's no other questions, wrap things up early here. And yeah, just a reminder, we will send out slides. We'll post the slide and the recording to the news function if anybody needs it, and especially with minimum equity requirements, we expect there to be more information coming on a pretty consistent basis. So keep an eye out. IPA will be sending out information. Adjustable Block Program Administrator will be sending out information. We will as well. Especially once those compliance plan forms become available.
Dylan, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as reallocating unused capacity between the block with the blocks,
yeah.
I know there's some blocks that are waitlisted in one group with available capacity in another group for the same block. Is there a consideration there for reallocating across groups? Yeah.
So there's a specific calculation in the guidebook on how they'll reallocate, but in kind of basic terms, what they're going to do is there's some project categories that they don't touch, like equity eligible contractors. If there's excess capacity, they don't touch that. It just rolls into the next year. But so they're going to take all small and large DG group A and B, take that as a big pool of all the leftover capacity, and then I believe first it goes to filling the waitlisted capacity, and then it goes to additional capacity for the future program years in each category. But yeah, I do think what's ultimately going to happen, because there's a lot of capacity left in Group B, large DG Group B, and there's a wait list in large DG Group A. I believe effectively some of that large leftover capacity in large DG Group A will be allocated to Group A. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? We wrap up here. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Hope you have a good good rest of your day. Sorry, got one more question that's rolled in. I'll answer that real quick. Does CSG have a preference for designees to get registered as approved vendors? It doesn't matter. I would say if you're not planning on being an approved vendor and you're planning on using Carbon Solutions Group as your approved vendor, I would recommend just registering as designee. It's just kind of additional stuff that you need to do. It's not going to impact anything. Certainly totally fine just to register as a designee. So. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. We'll send these out, and yeah, hope everybody has a great rest of your day.